Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast.
Good morning, gorgeous listeners. I am with a wonderful guest today. Dr. Mary's having a week off, and instead I have with me a gorgeous member of Momentum who has done our 12-week Mind Body Rebalance. And one of the reasons I wanted to introduce you to her is because she is indeed a real woman. Penny Stringer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to talk to you. And I think our listeners will be excited because I'm pretty sure they will relate to your story. So, gorgeous one, can you just perhaps begin by just introducing yourself, letting people know where you're from, who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Penny. I'm 40 years old. I'm a married mum of two. I'm from Hobart in Tasmania and very much just your regular everyday working mum. So trying to do the juggle of working and raising kids and being a wife and partner and all of the things that come with life in general. So very relatable, I reckon.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember when I asked you to, come on the podcast, you said, I don't know if I've got anything to share. And I'm going, but that's the whole point. It's about just being a normal, real life human and, the usual struggles that people have with just juggling everything and prioritizing, in particular for women, their own needs.
Absolutely. And definitely got a few little tidbits that I'm looking forward to sharing around how making nourishing my body with low carb real food easy. I'm all about making it easy, not hard for myself.
Oh, excellent. Well, listeners, you've heard it here first. Wait till the end for Penny's fabulous tips. Gorgeous one. So tell me, I guess just tell us your health journey. Like where were you? And what was the tipping point for you?
Yeah, I have always been a bigger build right through my life and really struggled with weight management and confidence, really enjoying the sweeter foods in life, sugar addict, as a lot of people can relate, I'm sure. And I'm pretty sure that I've suffered with polycystic ovarian syndrome my entire life and wasn't really diagnosed until I was ready to start a family in my 20s. And that really started to click a lot of things in place and explain, some of the symptoms, some of the issues that I've struggled with through my life, especially weight management, and struggling with regulating around food and emotional eating and all of those kinds of things. So I think polycystic ovarian syndrome has made a big part of my identity and working around that as one of those things. But yeah, otherwise.
So Pen, what were the symptoms that you experienced with polycystic ovarian syndrome?
Yeah, so gaining weight was super easy, losing it very difficult. I've always been heavier set, probably size 16, got up to a size 20 in my 20s. Really, I think losing my dad suddenly in 2021 was the tipping point for me. I went to grief counselling, and grief counselling dove into so much more than just dealing with the grief and finding new ways to cope and refocus and rebalance and mindfulness and all of those things. It was also, turning 40 was another tipping point for me. It's like, right, I've really got to get on top of all of these things. So those combined, as well as, I guess, diving a bit deeper into why I'm the way I am. I'm an orphan, I guess you could say. I lost my mum when I was 20 and my dad when I was 38. So, decided life's short. I felt out of control and bloated and overweight and uncomfortable and not confident and, having pimples and just the general yuckiness of being unhealthy and out of control, just spinning out of control and turning to sugar to try and get that, that nice hit, the hit that you look for, the dopamine, the endorphins, all the things you get from eating yummy things and and not doing the right thing by my body. So the tipping point was a few things, but definitely hitting 40 kind of woke me up that I really needed to get back in check.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, again, as we get a bit older, the time for which health issues happen gets closer. So, when you're 20, you kind of, you perhaps don't care quite so much. I certainly know I used to, you drink a lot. We used to ate lots of junk food. I didn't care. I knew it wasn't making me feel good, but I also didn't care because it was all about, just hedonistic, having fun, keeping up with your mates, doing what your friends were doing. But as you get a bit older and you have responsibilities, maybe you either have a family or want to start a family, you then start to value, I guess, your health. You don't take it for granted quite so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we do tend to feel a little bit invincible, a little bit like that's a future me problem. Even though you're eating junk food and drinking too much, it's definitely not. Like current me just wants to have fun, live life, and just enjoy being in the moment. Whereas, your 30s and 40s, it's all of a sudden this is important for my kids' sake, for my partner's sake, for my sake.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say you felt out of control, like which parts of you felt out of control?
Yes, just being able to regulate. If I did have a little bit of a treat, it would be not stopping. It's like one piece of chocolate's too much and a whole block is never enough. That kind of philosophy that I could put away a whole family block of chocolate. I could eat, one of the big 200-gram packets of potato chips, no problem, without even thinking twice about it. So, I feel like I just didn't have that ability to regulate myself around, all of those yummy, savory, sweet foods that I know were incredibly bad for me. Also being pre-diabetic, still drawn to those foods and knew that, it was doing damage to my body, but not being able to say no and not understanding why. So why can't I say no to this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the biggest thing, isn't it? People feel like they're just weak-willed because, they can't say no, that they don't have enough discipline and they just need to be stronger.
Yeah, definitely.
So what have you learnt about then that process, that it's not about, being weak-willed or undisciplined? What have you learnt?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a big part of my growth has been just being mindful, actually stopping, being in the moment and standing at the fridge or the cupboard. Why am I here? Am I doing that? What's one wonderful thing I've learned from real life medicine is around, am I cold chop or boiled egg hungry? If I'm not, I'm probably bored or feeling a little stressed and going back to that default emotional eating mechanism. So instead I'll go to my dog and I'll hug my dog. She's great for releasing dopamine and endorphins, bless her. That kind of thing, just kind of remove myself, go out, get some fresh air, stand in the sun. So I think, what's come from all of this is the importance of actually being in check, being in balance, taking back control and taking a deep breath, grounding myself, doing all of those things has been so incredibly super easy things that you can just add to your kind of routine. Because I work from home a lot now, so I'm at my fridge and cupboard all the time as well. So I've got to be really careful of that and, using that philosophy of make the helpful easy and make the unhelpful really hard has all been a lot of philosophies I've taken away from real life medicine, and it's been very refreshing, but easy stuff you can just add to your kind of routine. So it's been fabulous.
Oh, wonderful. Well, and you're right. I mean, I think for a lot of people, even understanding their hunger, like what is true physiological hunger and what is, what we might call psychological hunger or more, boredom hunger or lonely hunger or angry hunger, all of those sorts of different hungers. A lot of people, and including, myself before I did this own work and you by the sounds of things, you just don't know how to differentiate between the two.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely relate to that. And being a recovering emotional eater who's found new outlets to manage my stress and emotions and moods, it's really refreshing to not feel like I'm compelled to go to to go to the cupboard, to go to the fridge, and to do the am I actually hungry? And is my tummy grumbling? When was the last time I ate? With low carb real food, it's all about protein and real food. And knowing that I had breakfast at 8 o'clock. I'm not hungry at 9:30. I might be procrastinating over work or anything. So it's actually, I'll make a cup of tea and that'll get me through, sometimes to dinner. If I'm hungry, I'll have something at lunch, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But I don't need, with high protein, food, you don't need to snack. You don't need to go to the fridge and cupboard all the time. So it's looking for those actual hunger signals, which is something that I've had to relearn. It's like, I'm actually hungry because I brought in intermittent fasting and all of the benefits of that as well. So it's been very refreshing.
I love that. And I love it because I think there's a couple of things that happen. And again, people all know that I've done a lot of dieting, as have most women in the world seem to have done a lot of dieting. And so you become a bit fearful of food. Food becomes the enemy. It's something that you should avoid. Hunger is like a character flaw, some weakness. And honestly, understanding that physiological hunger is a normal, natural, and in fact, wonderful process. Because how good is it to eat? Like, how good does meal taste when you're actually just a little bit hungry?
So good. It's quite a different experience to just eating for the sake of eating or doing it for routine's sake. Like, the whole breakfast, lunch to dinner and, you should have 3 square meals and blah, 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 all that kind of thing. It's like, actually, no, I'm going to be much better at listening to my body. And meals do taste so much better, when you're not only having low carb real food, but also eating when you're hungry. It's like, this is delicious. It's great.
I know it is. And I remember driving home from work and, going via a petrol station often with the proviso that I probably needed petrol when probably I didn't, so that I could have some chocolate or some snack on the way home. And then by the time then I got home and had dinner, like I wasn't actually really hungry for dinner, but you had dinner because it was there. And so then dinner was not that exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of makes it a bit meh and not so much that really great meal that you can look forward to, that beautiful piece of steak with some veggies or whatever it might be. I agree. Yeah. And also, you can overeat. That's what happens with snacking, I find. You still make you a big bolognese or whatever it might be for dinner and eat that. And then you're like, actually over 4, I've got a sore tummy because I had those snacks that I didn't need or really, should have had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you'll remember this phrase, but one of our favourites is that, processed food steals the joy of real food.
Yeah, so true, so true. And it's all for that, tiny hit, that little feel good that you get from eating the junk, but it goes within a few minutes. And then you're looking for your next hit. So, I feel much better with the even energy levels and also knowing that I'm doing good to my body. I want to live long and I want to prosper and I want to be healthy and be the best version of myself. So, I feel better in that, knowing that I had a piece of steak with my beans and my broccoli, and I'm full, and I'm sated and I'm happy, and that gets me through to, breakfast or lunch the next day, perfectly happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us, Pen, had you tried lifestyle sort of stuff before, changing your eating or any of those things in the past to, help with, I guess,
yeah, definitely.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome or your pre-diabetes, or what sort of stuff have you done in the past?
Yeah, so, restriction, dieting, all of the traditional stuff that doesn't work long term because, as we know, it's more about making that lifestyle change, not the short term diet fads. I've tried OptiFast, I've tried soup diets, I've tried calorie restriction, I've tried multiple things, and some have worked for short term. I might lose 5, 10, 15 kilos and then put it all back on again within 6-12 months when you say, I'll start eating this thing again. And then, you lapse into old habits. Trying to reduce sugar intake, it's been really hard. I haven't had the right tools. I haven't been in the right headspace. That, things needed to really click for me for it to all make a lot of sense and actually really be something that I could take moving forward. So, really lowering my carb intake has been hard, as an emotional eater, getting through losing both of my parents quite suddenly and quite traumatically. You like turning to chocolate because it makes you feel good in the moment, even though it's not good. It's not good. And you're told you're pre-diabetic, still eat chocolate. And then you see your doctor and they say you're about 30 kilos overweight. What are you going to do about that? Just a combination of things I think really woke me up to the fact that I needed to take it seriously. And I knew that a low carb lifestyle was what I needed. It was just figuring out that it wasn't just reducing my sugar and that's that. It was, mindfulness, mindset, moving my body more, those kinds of things that factored in as well. But definitely, tried and failed on a number of different diet fads over the years, and been conscious of what I've been eating since my teen years, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, you've just elucidated a beautiful point, which is we need to understand what to eat, but more importantly, we need to understand why we eat. And, lots of people will relate to you being, an emotional eater. But unless we have other tools to learn to manage our emotions, to be able to self-soothe, to be able to regulate, that don't involve food and or alcohol, then all of the others are just short-term Band-Aids.
Yep, exactly. It really has made a whole lot more sense to like just picking up tools like the beautiful hypnosis sessions that are all about positive affirmations and positive mindset and, looking at the helpful rather than the unhelpful, has all been really important to cementing in my mind. This stuff is what I need. I need it for my mind. I need it for my body. I need it, for my soul. It's been so deeply healing to be on the right track. But to have that support, like to have real life medicine there along the way has been pivotal, really a game changer for me, not just out there trying a diet and failing a diet alone, because I don't fully understand other than weight loss as a goal. Weight loss can't be kind of the be all and end all. There has to be that drive to have the long-term health and well-being that comes with, eating better and moving more.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the most amazing things that happens is when people stop eating particularly ultra-processed foods and change to real food, they feel so much better so quickly. And and I think that the way you feel, it's a bit like when you've got, the air conditioner on or some noise, you just become immune to it until it stops. And then you suddenly go, oh my God, this is how I'm supposed to feel. I feel so much better. And so many people do that. And then they might have a lapse and they might go back to eating their processed food for a little bit and immediately feel terrible again.
Yeah, that was me at Christmas. I did enjoy a little bit of plum pudding with brandy custard and then had the sugar headache that came straight off it. I went, really, I know now that stuff is not for me anymore, even though that's, like Dr. Mary has talked about in some of her recordings around, her, I think she said fruit mince pies is one of her kind of things at Christmas time that she just keeps being drawn to. It's tradition, it's habit. But I'm so keen to be trying more Christmassy, low-carb, real food alternatives that I know are better for me. It's nourishing me the way I want to be nourished. And, still enjoying those festive foods, whether it's low-carb trifle or something like that without the horrible kind of sugary after effects.
Totally. And there are, there's certainly plenty of options, but you just reminded me of a Simpsons episode I remember watching, and it's Bart. I can't actually remember the whole series. I'm sure some of our listeners will remember it. But it was Bart was in some sort of like a guinea pig experiment, and he was eating, and it was some sort of sugary something or other, like maybe donuts. And every time he ate the donut, he got an electric shock. And he just kept doing it. And he just kept getting electric shocked. And I just think that's a bit like us. Sometimes you just every now and then you think, oh, it'll be all right. And then you're in an electric shock, you go, yeah, no, it's not all right. I don't know what I'm doing.
Just a bit. No, absolutely. And after doing this, a full time, full term, full life, everything, head first, jumping in, full body, full commitment. I know that I don't want to go back to the way it was before. And I know, what happens to my body when I do. It's amazing how quickly my fat burning woodshed padlocks down after I've had a little bit of sugar, even if it's dark chocolate, peanut butter fudge I've made for myself, which is still in the fridge calling to me. So I'm going to throw it away after this, actually, is just to say, no, I don't want to feel like that. I'd rather my woodshed be open and working to full capacity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Pen, tell us how's your health now?
I feel a million times better. I've lost 20 kilos. I've dropped 2 dress sizes, which are just, really great, excellent side effects, not necessarily, the reasoning behind it, but, I was definitely motivated to lose weight for my health's sake. I've reversed my insulin resistance, which has been amazing. So that's actually been moved to my patient history with my GP. So that's incredible. And I feel like I might be on the way to reversing some of the symptoms of and potentially my PCOS as well, which would be incredible as well as I head into this next stage of my life, moving into my 40s. Even energy, more in control, more mindful. And I think mindfulness is great for mental health anyway, just to actually be present with my kids. It's school holidays at the minute. So, actually stopping what I'm doing and choosing better options for myself and for my family has been really quite life-changing. They're loving this lifestyle. They're like, Mum, it's great that we get to have steak and veggies once a week, that kind of thing. So they're loving the mingle sauces and the mingle seasonings we have on our chicken tenders that are barbecued right through the summer, those kinds of things. So it's really changing the way we eat. It's changing the way we communicate around food. They're metabolically flexible, my husband and my kids, so they still have their pasta and their chocolates and things in the house, but I'm not tempted by them anymore, and that is huge. And it's such a relief to be able to walk past a box of chocolates and go, I know what that does to me and I'm not interested anymore. So quite life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing that is helpful around that is that, we talk a fair bit about willpower in, lots of our teachings. And, willpower is a thing, like people have it, and you do have to use it occasionally, but it depletes quickly. So if you're not wasting your willpower on, things that are there in the house all the time, because people often say to me, Lucy, how do you do it? Because I live with 3 other adults now, adult children and a husband, and I'm not in charge of their eating. I'm in charge of mine. And they have stuff in the house that the old me would have gone, oh my God, Maltesers or things that, donuts or biscuit, those cookies, those giant chocolate chip cookies, that sort of stuff. And I used to have to use a lot of willpower to not eat them. And now I don't. They're like the equivalent. Somebody said it in one of our groups. It's like they're just the equivalent of like a packet of clothes pegs. Or
I was about to say something inanimate that's not appealing at all.
Yeah, they're just clothes pegs.
Yeah.
They're just somebody else said they're like little packets of dishwashing detergent. They're just there. They're nothing.
Yeah.
They're just
I relate to that. Yeah. And it's refreshing. It's really lovely to have the kids have their cereal. I have my hemp seed porridge, which I'm a big fan of. That's been a game changer for me to get off cereal. They've got their cornflakes, whatever. They can eat it because they're growing boys, and my husband is 71 kilos and 6 foot. So that's fine. I'm happy for them, and I will keep buying them for them if that's what they want. But, I will still say to them, how much sugar's in those? You should try hemp seed porridge. Just gently kind of, nudging. Do what I can.
Absolutely. And, again, it's, for families, it's not necessarily, getting rid of every single processed product in the pantry, but when you change the balance of the amount of processed food that kids eat, and Mary's favourite saying is crowd out the processed food by introducing alternate real food, then again, you're reducing the percentage of what they eat, and that is going to be great for their health long term anyway.
Yeah, it's been huge. It's simple things like making sauces for stir fries with mingle instead of straight from the jar. It's got a bunch of other processed stuff in it. Like I said, a favourite now is chicken tenders with mingle, seasonings over the top, and a salad, and maybe some fresh peas or whatever it might be on the side. The kids are just loving all of that as well. So we're definitely eating better as a family. Even my husband, he's lost 5 kilos. He's already thin. He's lost 5 kilos himself because we're not sitting there eating a bag of chips or chocolate together over nighttime anymore. That's the nighttime snacking's gone. So unhelpful, got rid of it. And that's been another game changer for my metabolism as well. Makes intermittent fasting overnight and into lunch the next day super easy.
I love that. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because once it goes, it's not like your life's any less wonderful. Like, I think sometimes people are going, but that's one of my pleasures, my joy in life is having ice cream on the couch at night with my husband or my partner or my friend or whoever. And, Pen, what would you say to those people?
Definitely. It's not a joyless way of eating and living and nourishing our bodies. There is so much low carb, real food, beautiful, options out there. And I'm loving making things from scratch and, using alternatives like almond meal instead of wheat flour, and making things from that, making pancakes and still enjoying all of those. You can get Lakanto maple flavoured syrup and still have pancakes with maple flavoured syrup and enjoy that experience. It's not like you can't ever have, foods like the things you used to enjoy. It's just a matter of, making them from scratch and making them from lower carb options and enjoying being in the kitchen again, that's a massive thing for me because I'm like you. I love your Tuesday cooking sessions. So, it's not so much about being the next Jamie Oliver. It's, let's nourish ourselves with foods that are really high protein and, just delicious and easy because we're busy. We're busy wives, busy mums, busy people. It's definitely not a joyless way of living. I'm loving finding all these new recipes. Look at this. You're making, I think one of the no apple crumble was also a favourite.
Yeah.
I thought that's incredible.
Yeah,
so great.
Absolutely.
So it's just rediscovering and finding all these amazing alternatives is fun and exciting. It's good.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that your, the mindset around that as it being fun and exciting rather than tedious and boring, once we start, and again, we can change our thoughts whenever we want. So if you start noticing that your thoughts become things like, this is boring or this is tedious or this is hard, for me, it's often like just a little sort of an alarm, a little ding in my head that goes, isn't it interesting? My brain's offering me this. Is that the most helpful way to think? Is that going to serve me well long term? And if not, what could I think instead?
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes back to that positive mindset and mindfulness as well as actually stopping and going, where's that coming from? kind of being inquisitive, and also, self-compassion is really important too. Because, it's all about progress, not perfection. Another big one that real life medicine likes. At being a perfectionist, that's been a really tricky one for me to work with. It's been, I'm like, this is amazing, losing all this weight in such a short period of time and fully embracing this way of life and not kind of digressing. And at Christmas time, I did give myself that little test of saying, I'm going to try. I really love my mother-in-law's plum pudding and I wanted to join in. And, it's funny that we've still got that FOMO, working through the fear of missing out. It's like, but everyone else is having the plum pudding, so I want to have plum pudding as well. But then experiencing the after effects and weighing up the pros and cons and deciding it's probably not worth it sort of long term. Yeah, it's really interesting. And positive mindset's been everything.
Yeah, and as you know, we're not about perfection, it's about an experiment. And what I think dieting has taught people is that if you and cheat, and I'm using air quotes, listeners, if you cheat on your diet, then you're weak and bad and hopeless. And then because you've wrecked it, might as well go the whole hog and just wipe off the whole day. Whereas, and then forget it happened, pretend it didn't happen because you're just going to start again tomorrow. So whereas we really believe that thinking a lot about what you're doing is really helpful in a really non-judgmental way. So, you can decide that you were looking forward to your mother-in-law's plum pud and your brain was probably quite excited about it. And then working out whether the taste was as good as you thought it would be, because sometimes it's not. Like, have you ever done that? Where you go, oh my God, I can't wait to have that. And then you have it and you go, oh, it's interesting. I built it up quite a lot more in my mind than it actually was. Or it may have been that it was great, just as you remembered, and you enjoyed the savouring of it. But that your brain knows that actually this is what we have at Christmas. I don't need to be having plum pudding in, April, May and June.
Yeah, so giving yourself permission to enjoy it on those really special occasions. We do have, make Christmas all about family and time together and food, so much food we do. It's traditional roast on my in-laws side of the family, which is always delicious. But knowing that it's that time of year, I've also been eating way more cherries than I normally would. And I know that, just a small handful of cherries would be okay. But Christmas time is all about cherries as well for me. So struggling to regulate that even as I speak now. I know there are cherries in the fridge that I'm probably holding to a bit later. But it's all about, if I do have one of those little splurges, it's giving myself permission, not beating myself up, but going straight back into the regular scheduled viewing, so to speak, go back to my normal kind of low carb real foods the next day or the next meal, not beating myself up about it. If I did eat 5 cherries instead of 3 or 10 cherries instead of 5, which has been more the case, is to say, this is a Christmas thing, and I know it's not an all year thing, and kind of being okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, at the very heart of it, cherries are a real food. And I think that, most people probably don't go and eat a kilo of cherries a day. That would probably be unhelpful. But 10 cherries doesn't cause diabetes.
No, it's not the end of the world. It's okay.
No, absolutely. Good, gorgeous one. I would just love to finish on your top tip for newbies. What would you, if you've got someone who's thinking about it or would like to, that maybe they've been listening to our podcast for a while, but they're a bit scared, or what would you say to them?
Yeah, I think for me it was all about kind of segregating the movement and the food and kind of focusing on one, and then bringing the other in once I felt like, like food first was a focus for me. It was get my food organised. The weight started to fall off me when I got my food in check. And then the movement comes because you get to a point where, you're feeling like, okay, I'm doing what I can in the food department. Let's add in more movement because, our bodies need to move. And I've got a sedentary job. I sit at my desk a lot. So, that's been important. And again, the philosophy of making the helpful really easy and the unhelpful really hard. So, if you are struggling with willpower, get stuff out of the house, put it in a box, move it out of the way into a different room so you're not walking past it. If you're like me and you work from home or have hybrid work from home arrangements, boxes full of lollies and chocolate that belong to my husband and sons were once tempting. So just put them out of the way, super easy stuff like that. Doing a bit of a cleanse is always really refreshing and cathartic, clearing out the cupboards. Set some goals has also been really important, make them achievable and small and digestible. Don't go, I want to lose 30 kilos in 3 months, start sensibly and kind of build up from there and have those steps in place. Another big one has been surround yourself with a community of like-minded people or people going through the same thing, because it's amazing. There is a lot of naysayers out there around low carb, real food, keto-esque lifestyles, still being very unhealthy. So finding your community like I have with Real Life Medicine. Joining Momentum has been fabulous just to keep the momentum going sort of post 12 week. That's been great, being able to have some other women to chat to, facing similar, I guess, challenges. People who are around the same age as me as well has been really fabulous too. I've got some actual people in real life based here in Tasmania who I talk to about low carb real food, and then I've got my virtual community through Real Life Medicine as well. So they're probably the big ones. And then the positive affirmations, the positive mindset stuff will come, with Real Life Medicine and some of the programs you've got available have just been so pivotal to building my I've got a very, very plump toolkit of coping mechanisms and things I could fall back on those tough days. Whereas once upon a time, I probably would have just gone, I'll just have some chocolate because I had a stressful day. I don't have to do that because I've got all these other things to fall back on. So yeah, look, follow real life medicine, put yourself with people who think the same as you or are going through the same thing as you, and, use yourselves as accountability partners if you need to. Journaling's another good one that I haven't mentioned as well, and get those goals written down to make them real, not just something floating around in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know one of the ones that you just said then that I loved was the like putting the tempting foods out of your sight, and you mentioned because they were once tempting and now they're not. And so I think for people are worried that they're going to have to resist this food for their whole life, like it's going to be hard for their whole life. But it gets easier.
Yeah, so true. Like we were just saying before, it's amazing how, the kids can have their cereals, and I was a big cereal fan before, or their box of Christmas chockies that they were gifted. To me, they're just things. They're just things in the house. They're not things calling to me, a little voice in my head saying, ooh, wouldn't a little chocky be nice right now? That's not there anymore. Yeah. I've got this positive mindset and this mindfulness attitude where it's all about, if I'm hungry, go and heat up some leftovers, or, cook a bit of chicken, or, if I'm desperate, if I'm in between meetings, I'll make some hemp seed porridge for lunch some days, just keep making sure I've got those things available. So I've got my things available and they're there to fall back on. And, in an emergency, I'm all set. I've got frozen berries. I've got Greek yogurt. I'm not going to go hungry. I'm not surrounded by junk food. So, yeah, it does get easier. It's just a matter of going through the process, training your brain. And I think one of the really important things to take away from all of this is just being in the right headspace and making that conscious decision to commit. And it's more than just weight loss.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, gorgeous Pen, you have, what I love is that you are a nourishing and nurturing current you in both your body, mind and soul, but now also looking out for future you, and future you is going to be so grateful.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me. It's been lovely to chat and kind of share my experience. I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And I'm sure our listeners will relate and be able to take away some of your excellent points. Okay, gorgeous ones. Bye for now. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.